I know that this is not the Fred most of you are used to. Yes, starting a farm or businesses in Africa could be very easy because I know most of you complain about getting a land, getting the money. All those things here in Ghana, if you have the money, can quickly get a land to buy, depending on where you want it, right? And getting the money is always going to be a problem, but that too you can find if you're looking at the right places. But what about managing or making sure that that business, whether it be in farming, construction, real estate, whatever it is, what about making sure that that succeeds? And that's why in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to manage your farm in order to have success. And I want to share some experience with you, just like what happened this morning with my encounter with the team. So if you want to go into farming or any business here in Africa or anywhere you are, stay tuned because you might learn something from this video. Welcome back, guys. So it is the rainy season, and therefore, as if you're a farmer, you're probably as busy as we all are. So I wish you all the best. But as I said, today we're going to be talking about farm management and how do you put in the right things that you actually need in order to succeed in your farm business. And I know most of you, that are thinking about going into farming, you're asking yourself, what are the things I have to do so that I don't repeat the mistakes that Fred has done or the mistakes that other people have done that have caused them their downfall or even lost of a lot of money. And that's what we're talking about today. So over the years, I have ventured into so many business and built a lot of experience in sort of managing successful business. But today, as I said, we are focusing on farming. And as a livestock farmer, what are some of the key components or key things that I have done that has achieved some level of success and also struggle? So I'm going to share both the success and the struggle with you guys. So the number one thing, to me, this is even the most important, the most difficult one, and the most challenging one that you're going to have. So the number one is essential farm workers, which is the resources that you need here at your farm. Workers. All of you have heard about me talking about how to hire the manager, how to manage it, so on and so forth. That's the number one important thing. What kind of people do you need at your farm? So number one, you need a farm manager. If you're doing livestock farming, then you also need a veterinary officer at your farm. Then number three, you need basically caretakers, right? So your caretakers, depending on the size of your farm, will determine how many caretakers that you need. So if you have, maybe 100 goats, maybe you're looking at 3, 4, 5 caretakers, then you have a farm manager who is basically making sure that all the logistics are done, supervising the ideas. He's basically the person you're communicating to a lot. And then you have your farm veterinary, which is basically checking on every single animal every single day, touching them, having the eye to be able to look at which animal is not feeling well, is deficiency in something, and providing that nutrition or even vaccination or medication to the animal, right? So these three type of essential workers are very important, right? And those things, you can't go wrong with it. And if you don't have a big farm, of course, you make sure that there is a veterinary close by. A farm manager, even if you're starting with 2 cows, 2 sheep, 2 what, you definitely want a farm manager if you're not the farm manager yourself. Essential workers you can do away with because you can't do everything. So you need to hire people to come and support you. So this is the number one important thing for you to consider or put in place before you even start your farm. Number two, so the second point on my list is scheduling. So now that you've gotten your team together, how are you managing that team? It doesn't matter if you're running your farm from afar or you're on field as the manager running the farm. You need to have a better scheduling, which is more of planning, right? So the farm, I'm going to use livestock farming because that's what I do and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So what I mean by the scheduling is, if you're running a livestock farm, that means that you need to have times to do everything. Especially your caretakers are not going to be so advanced, right? Where they will know, they will just automatically wake up and say, oh, this time let me do this time let me do this. The best way to help them is to be able to sit with them and agree, okay, what time do we open our livestock? What time do we allow them to graze? What time do we feed them? What time do we change their water? What time do we clean the pen? What time do we give them a break? What time is exercise area? How long do they have to feed on alfalfa? How long do they have to feed on brachiaria grass? So you sit with your farm manager and you plan. Either the farm starts at 6 a.m. and from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. you have a clear schedule of what the activities needs to be, right? And these activities, don't forget, also includes a break, right? So here in West Africa, it gets hot during the day. So it's great to always start early and give them a break, maybe sometimes from 11, you know, all the way maybe to 1, 2, depending on your schedule, right? And the size of your farm as well. Give them a break and then they come back again actively, and then they know exactly what they are supposed to do. Even if it's 3 people, when they come, he knows that, oh, I'm in charge of changing their water. I'm in charge of going to clean. I'm in charge of doing this. You need to have that schedule at your farm. A farm schedule that is going to guide your workers so that when you as the farm manager comes in, or you as the farm owner comes in, you look at the time and you look at what has been done and you're able to question it, right? So for example, today when I came, I saw that the animals were still in there. So I was questioning my farm manager about, has he gone round to check all the animals? And he says, yes. And I said, if you have, then you see that we've lost a baby and that baby is still in the pen, right? So to me, that is a very bad sign of the work that he did this morning. I can use this to, of course, justify his whole work, but I think this is the reason why you need to be at the farm. You need to walk in and be able to see some of these things. Are they following the schedule? Are they doing it even the right way, right? Because if the farm manager has gone through the farm first thing at 6 o'clock, when I got here around like 7, I shouldn't be seeing a dead animal still living with it, right? We all knew that that animal was sick. We're checking on him, but I came to meet it at 8. That means that it's not going according to the schedule. So it's very important for us to work together by planning better.
Hello guys, my name is Adam Go Get 'em. Do well to follow Farming in Africa on YouTube and all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and anywhere you find them. Farming in Africa, let's go get 'em.
The third point that I want to talk about is record keeping. So you've got your team in place, you have your activities and schedules done. The third thing is record keeping. As we do the activities, we need to be able to track the activities to be able to know that, is this activity yielding results or not? When something happens at the farm, we need to be able to go back to what activity has been conducted that is causing this problem or this success, right? And therefore keeping record is key. There are so many softwares out there. There are so many that I have used that has been very successful for me. I don't know what you use, but if you don't even have access to phone or laptop or tablet, you can use your book. You know, get the teacher's notebook, the big one. Make sure that every animal is tagged. I think that's the first point of record keeping. If your animals are not tagged by the years, you won't be able to keep record of what is happening with the animal. So the first step of record keeping is tagging. If you don't have the tag, we have the tag at the agro store. Pass by, we'll be able to get you some. Tag all your animals. As you can see, our animals are tagged based on their number, their date of birth, and everything. Once you have that identity associated to every animal, now you can take those identity. That tag is basically a name, right? So the same way your mom gave you a name, you know, your dad gave you a name, so that when you do something wrong or something good or when you're needed, we can call you, right? That's how you want to do with your animals. You want to be able to call them, or, you know, whether good or bad, and understand what is happening. But if they are all the same, how are you going to know? So tag your animal. Once you tag them, whether you're using a book, a software, whatever you're using to track them, now you use that to basically start recording all the activities. When I say activities, what do I mean? First of all, have they been dewormed? Have they had their year vaccination? What feed are they on, right? Have they been crossed? who crossed them? Have they given birth? Are they pregnant? When were they pregnant? When are they being expected to give birth? So all this information is on the animal, right? And that record keeping is able to inform you on things that will happen, things that you need to do when tasks are due, and so on. So record keeping, I don't need to talk too much. I think you guys understand that is very important for every farmer. So that's my point number 3. Point number 4 is things that you need to have at your farm, right? So we've been talking about things you need to do, but as you're doing those things, there are things that you need to have to be able to enable you become successful. And in the past, I've talked about equipment. If you haven't watched those videos, you can check the link above and watch them. But I've talked about equipment, and today I don't want to go into equipment and tools. I want to rather go into very key necessity. So every farmer needs to have a set of medication that is constantly at your farm all the time. Every farmer needs to have a set of syringes and needles that are constantly at your farm. Every farmer needs to have some safety, right, tools that you will need. You know, even talking about the tagging, your tagger, right, iodine, in case of any cut, any emergency, right? You want to have cholesterol, right, because you can have a doe give birth and lose the mom that same day. When that happens, you need to have a colostrum bag that you can quickly, you know, mix it with water and give to the baby, so that you're not losing maybe 3 livestock at the same time. So these are very important too. So you want to sit down and say, as a farmer, what are the things that every month, my safety box, that I need to have? And that includes medication, certain vaccination based on the periods, right? And then some emergency tools. And these tools, you want to make sure that across the year you have them. Based on the size of your livestock, you can say, oh, if I buy this, you know, gallon of deworming medication or iodine, it's going to last me 1 week or 3 months. And therefore, every 3 months, I have to buy this medication, or every 2 months, I have to buy this, so that you are keeping this emergency toolkit at your farm all the time. So that is very important. So if you need help with that, get in touch with me. I'll be able to support you guys, but that is very key on the things that you need at your farm. The 5th point, which is the last point I want to give to you guys, is expansion and growth, which is, I guess, the dream and desire of every business and every livestock farmer, is that you want to be able to grow your herds, you want to be able to grow your livestock, and you want to be able to increase them, because once you're able to do that, then that means that you actually increase your revenue, you increase your cash flow, and your farm grows. So that's basically, you know, that's the last part of every business. And therefore, as you're setting up your farm, or if you already have a plan, you need to have a plan for extension, right? As you're selling some of your livestock, as you start getting some revenue, what are you investing money into? So the essential thing, which is point number 4, are things you need to make sure that you have. Once you understand this, then you say, what is this going to mean when I double my number, right? Would I still be able to afford this? Would I still be able to provide for this number when it's doubled, right? And if you can, then you start with that. But then how does double that number means in terms of infrastructure, in terms of workers, in terms of staff, and all these things, right? All the things we've talked about from 1 to 4, how do you use that and multiply by 2 or multiply by half and be able to expand, right? So expansion is not just about buying, you know, more goats or more cow or more pigs, but how have you understand the process of managing what you have and being able to take it to the next level, right? So that needs a lot of thinking and planning. So let's not just increase our flocks without thinking about these 4 things that we've talked about and saying, at what rate can we increase them to be able to move to the next level, right? Because I definitely agree that commercial farming is the way for us to go here in Ghana, because of so many different reasons. I mean, I always say, if right now I want to buy goats for my farm, breeding goats, who in Ghana has breeding goats for farmers? we all have to go to the same place that we are buying to kill them for meat. So there's no differentiation. That alone, to me, is enough for farmers to come together and do better farming so that you can separate your breeding goats from goals that you're taking to the table, right? So I hope these 5 essential things are helpful for you. I hope you've taken some notes. If you need to talk to me more in detail about my experience, how I've done it, tools that I've used and so on, use the link below to schedule a time with me and I'll come one-on-one for us to talk. But I hope this is helpful. Thank you all so much and I will see you in the next video.